Hey, it's great to be on another episode of CaLDpreneurs. This is our sixth episode, and it's not about counting number. And it's so glad, it's so great to have you here today, Tendai. We'll do proper introductions later. Well, I just want to, out of excitement, just start by saying it is absolutely much gratitude on my part that you could make our time, Tendai, to join me today. So we want to welcome those that will be joining us. This is CaLDpreneurs. We'll talk more about why we do this later, but today's session, just because pictures speak louder than voice, I just want to use this prop to say, just refresh our memory what we are doing today. It's about question and answer. We listen to feedback, and this is driven by feedback from our regular audience, to say, rather than someone just talking on the stage over and over again, why don't we open it up for real conversations, question and answer sessions? And who better to start it with me than to have Tendai Muchemwa. Tendai will talk a little bit about himself later, but let me just use this prop because I want us to get into the discussion proper soon. But Tendai is not new to business. Tendai is an incubator manager. He incubates business. So again, how worthwhile to have him with me today. This is what he does every day. He deals with startups, new businesses. He breathes and lives helping people to set up and thrive in their business. He's also a seasoned economist, international and local. I call him the wise one. I know that's the last point there, because every time I chat with this guy, he opens my mind to possibilities. So it's so great to have him here with us today. He's a strong advocate for small businesses. I'm so excited about today's session, Tendai. But before going further, Tendai, let you just take time to, in case I missed out something, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, thank you very much, Ephraim. I'm very excited to be here, and thank you very much for the kind introduction. I've got a new title, The Wise One, which is very exciting.
It's true.
Yes, so I think the brief has already covered it. I'm a business incubator manager with Business Station. We have about 38 businesses here in our business incubator, and I oversee their businesses. So they still run their businesses, but when they've got issues, I help them with different things, which can be advice or just pointing them in the right direction. So that's what pretty much what I do. And a lot of people at times do not know what a business incubator does. And it's always important to explain it, because most of the times I'm asked, what does a business incubator manager do? And I always joke, because this is really true though. There's a time at my house, I asked an electrician to come and help me fix something at my house. And as we were having a discussion, he ended up asking me what I do for a living. And I said, I'm a business incubator manager. And this is what he said in response. Oh, so you manage chickens, mate? And I wasn't too surprised though. So yes, if I want to joke about it, yes, I do manage chickens. But just to give you an overview, a business incubator manager can only be explained of what he does by explaining what business incubation is. We do know that from the health industry, when a baby is born prematurely, it is put into this device which they call an incubator. So the doctors will put the premature baby in that incubator until a time when they feel the baby is ready to face the world. So in other words, if a baby is born prematurely at 7 months, and maybe after 9 months, the doctors will feel now the baby is ready to face the world. So this is the very same concept that was borrowed into business. Now, instead of having a premature baby, you've got a startup business or someone with just ideas of starting a business, but they don't know what to do. So worldwide, those kind of businesses or those kind of people are put into a building that is called an incubator. So they can be different offices where they'll be operating from. And now a business incubator manager is like a doctor, using that analogy. And these businesses will get as much support as they can until a time when they are ready to face the world. And then we can then incubate more new businesses. So pretty much that's what a business incubator does. And there are quite a number of examples that we've got worldwide, but the ones that I like to use more often are the most popular ones. Airbnb. It started as just an idea. It got into a business incubator, and now we use Airbnb regularly. We've got Dropbox as well. Reddit, another example. They just started with business ideas, and now they've developed into multi-billion-dollar businesses. So it's quite interesting what business incubators can do in order to help small businesses to grow.
Wow, Tendai, I think you've given more than an introduction there. You've actually given quite some information so that people that have a look at this later, they can understand what business incubation means and how important your job is. And even people that live locally around us here, they now know where to go to in case they need their business or their startup to be incubated. And I think that is a great start, Tendai. So I just want to, before we just get into the whole thing that we have on today, I know that Joshua just popped in. I'm sure he'll come back later. Joshua is a young chap, very sharp young man, and I think I'm not surprised that he got by, and I'm sure he will come back later. But we'll keep going, and people will be coming in and going out depending on their commitments, and also people will watch this post-production. So sometimes I don't want to just keep my eyes on that small eye on the left side. It could be distracting to say, nobody is here after all the publicity. But hey, this is why live stream is also very important. Others can see it. But the good thing is that we also have questions that we got before now. So even if we don't get live questions tonight, we have questions of this program that we can just use as a prop, as a trigger to start our conversation. But just to give people that will look at this later again a bit of background, because people come in every now and then. Just a quick one, CaLDpreneurs, it's all about valuing diversity in business. The key word here is diversity. CaLD is one word that is unique to Australia, especially WA, which stands for culturally and linguistically diverse people. It's like saying immigrants or people that are not born here. So why CaLDpreneurs? It's a combination of CaLD, what we just described, and entrepreneurship. That gave us CaLDpreneurs. And the whole essence of this is that whether we like it or not, people that come over Tendai, you were talking about incubation, even people that are local have some challenges in setting up and running a business. It adds another layer when you have people that have come over to start all over again. There is another dimension there. So that's why we are doing this, primarily for that audience, just to give that extra support, extra inspiration, extra trigger or challenge, because they can deliver a lot as well. And I always like to flag this where we start from. This is our major mantra here. And this is quite relevant in what we do in CaLDpreneurs, because sometimes as immigrants, you just feel that you have to depend and over-depend on anyone and everyone. But hey, we need to rise up. We need to tap into that part of us that is entrepreneurial. So that is where we started from. We want people to be able to fish for themselves. And I must give credit to this man on the stage today that added another dimension to this conversation. That other than just fish, why not own a pond as an immigrant? And it's doable, and that's one of the things we'll be talking about here today. Enough of all those Tendai, let's get into it.
Yes.
Unless you have one or two things to chip in first as a preamble, Tendai, otherwise we'll get into the questions and answer session.
No, I think let's go ahead.
Yeah, so the first one there really is just this whole thing about entrepreneur. I remember, I think it was our very first episode. Somebody was trying to say, what is it all about? You know, we hear it, it's almost like a throwaway term now. Everybody may call themselves entrepreneurs without even knowing it. So I want us to start from there, Tendai. Who or what? Let's start from what? What is an entrepreneur? And that can lead us to who actually is an entrepreneur. What do you think, Tendai?
Right. Thank you very much, Ephraim. So this is quite interesting because this is very, very debatable. And just to make everyone very comfortable, there's no right or wrong answer because various people have got various definitions for that term. So it just depends on how you look at it or what you believe it is. But my thoughts regarding entrepreneurship is an art, or it's an act of starting a business, taking risk to make a profit. So this is the simplest definition that I can come up with. So it's starting a business whereby you are taking risk to make a profit. It then comes up with three key words that are there, which is a business, taking risk, and making a profit. Now, I would think that we can argue, but for as long as we do not include those three key words, there is no entrepreneurship we're talking about.
Yeah, and I think that it's good that you actually qualified it, Tendai, because again, there's no right and wrong statement, but I just want to highlight it there because you actually mentioned some key words there, which is business, risk, and profit. And I know this is, each of these can be a topic on their own because you start wondering, any business that is not taking risk, is it actually a business? Any business that is not making profit, how long do you have to stay before you make a profit and still be viable? While I don't want to dwell on this too quickly, Tendai, but I just wanted to chip in there because you're also a seasoned economist. Because sometimes that question comes, how long do I have to be in business before I know to either pack up or continue? What do you think?
Yes, I think the fundamental thing here is making a profit. And my understanding is when everyone starts a business, right, the idea is to make a profit. I do understand that there are not-for-profit organizations And in this instance, we are not talking about them. We are talking about a business whose main aim is to make a profit. So you get into the business because you are driven by a profit motive. So in economic terms, a profit comes when one has gone into the venture of making of starting a business, and because they are now driven by that profit, and that's why they are willing to take those risks. So I would conclude by saying there is no business when there is no profit. Now, to answer your question, at what point does one have to pick up? I would say that when you're starting a business, you must be very realistic. You may not necessarily get a profit in the first year, second year, third year. It just depends with the nature of the business. So if you look into the mining industry, it may take some time to recoup the investment that you have spent, maybe on equipment and other things, before starting to realize the profits. So it may take more time. So you have to hold on into that kind of a business. But then you can start another business like a fast food outlet, where when you start, the moment you open your doors, people are bringing in the revenue, and maybe you start to realize the profits. So it's not one size fit all. You need to understand the kind of business that you are operating. And you also need to realize or to understand what similar businesses in your particular industry are operating like. Are they making a profit in the foreseeable future, or is it something that requires patience, and then maybe you then can start to realize that profit? So do not take the one size fit all approach. Just need to understand your industry and a high degree of patience as well.
Yeah, thanks Tendai for really expanding that, because sometimes that is a big question in the mind of entrepreneurs. How long do I have to wait before I make profit? Sometimes we compare with other business without even knowing what they are doing. Say, that fast food shop is selling, their customers going there every day. And you see this sometimes. You see people that are selling, but somehow they still close down later. So
yes,
that's why the factor about profit, the fact that you are making revenue is good, is a great start, but it's not necessarily making profit, because staying in business demands you to make profit. Otherwise, you'll be making a loss. So just to qualify your point further, Tendai, I think you made it very clearly that you may find some businesses taking longer time, but they end up being more profitable compared to the one that spreads like wildfire, but before you know it, they are down. Do you still want to say anything about that just before we cross? Because we have a few other questions that have been asked.
No, I think it's just important to understand that businesses are different and seasons are different. So we just can give a very simple example. You start an ice cream making business in winter. Chances are you're not going to make so much sales, and therefore you're not going to be making much profit, because when the when has not been solved adequately. You will definitely make more money when you sell your ice cream in summer, because that's when that demand for ice cream is there. I know this is a very simple example, but I think the main point is you also need to understand the point at which you have started your business, or the seasons that you are operating in. And that's one of the most important things. So there are quite a number of reasons why you may not be making profit in a particular period of time, but eventually you should be making a profit in the long run.
Yeah, thanks, Tendai. I think I would have, because of other questions we have, but because this particular question, Tendai, it's quite fundamental, and I'm grateful that you're able to just break it down into three key parts. Now, risk. It's one part that sometimes people talk less about, even though they are involved in it one way or the other. And sometimes it is what causes business to go down sometimes more quickly than they should have, because there was no appropriate risk management, risk identification. So I guess just in a punchline, because already we never will come to the second question, but what do you think about this factor? Because I think it's important, but again, Tendai really give some of these response, even though we are not exclusive, but our primary target audience are immigrants like you and myself.
Yes.
We don't know how we think. We just want to say, oh, by God's grace, or yes, inshallah, or something. I'm not trying to be religious yet. It's something common. People will just say, what will be, will be. We don't take time to understand. Can you say a few, just a punchline there with the risk factor?
Well, the only reason why profit is realized is because one has stepped out of their comfort zone, and therefore they are being rewarded for stepping out of their comfort zone. And this is what profit is. Now, as human beings, regardless of one is an immigrant or not, we are naturally risk averse. We do not like a risk. We are not risk tolerant. So it's often very difficult for anyone to take risk at any given day, because we were not created to be like that. Now, when you start a business, you are saying to yourself, I'm stepping into the unknown, and I'm either going to make a profit or I'm going to make a big loss. It's that understanding before you even start. So you should not expect to be surprised if things go either way, because this is something that you have thought about before you have started. Now, it's only the brave that are rewarded. So
It's very remarkable the way you stopped and made that emphasis, Tendai. Okay, I'm now interested to hear further. Please continue.
So it's only the brave that are rewarded. Now, a lot of people at times get into business with the hope of making so much money, whether it could be millions or whatever it is, but without really seriously thinking about what they are doing. So it's like you're playing lotto. When you're playing lotto, unfortunately, I've never really played. But one thing that I know is when you're playing lotto, you are expecting to get something or to win, but you're also aware that that money can be lost, regardless of the amount that you're willing to spend. So this is the very same concept. I would say that business is like playing lotto. The only difference is with business, at least you can calculate some of the risks. There are certain things that you can anticipate, but with lotto, it's mere chance. So yes, it's something that's important that one should realize before they start, that for me to do this, I must be willing to lose everything or part of it, or maybe I can win everything or part of it.
Wow.
So that's my take on risk, and understanding that before doing anything. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah. So it becomes part of the decision making, even to start.
It's part of the decision making, yes. But just to put it back, to give it context, we are talking about immigrants.
Yeah.
And I've always liked to say this. For immigrants, I would say that they have the DNA of being entrepreneurs, because they love risk. Leaving your country, going into another country requires a great deal of risk. So risk is risk, regardless of where it's being applied to. So the fact that someone has been able to use that risk when they are coming from one country to the other, they still can have that same kind of risk and use it when they are starting a business.
Wow, I think Tendai, somebody needed to hear that because again, and I think that would just lead into my second question, or second part of that question, but I just want to leave that up there a bit because anybody that watches this, and again, we're not saying that non-immigrants will not benefit from these. Principles are applicable.
Yes,
but Tendai, you made one key point now, which again, it's not a case of saying, oh, we are better than non-immigrants, but you just stated it took a bit of risk to make that big move. So if we can how do they use that word? If we can repurpose that risk,
yes, absolutely.
And I think this is a big part of, I mean, you know what we've been doing, you know what I'm also bringing up soon, but I think you hit the nail on the head, so very well Tendai. But let me just go back to that part of that question, which is actually the second part. Why? So why should anyone, and again in our context as CaLDpreneurs, why should we bother about entrepreneurship, including those that came here as skilled immigrants? We are used to having 3 or 4 master's degree and maybe 2 PhDs. But why should we explore these, Tendai?
I'm definitely going to answer this, but I would have loved this question to have been, why not? Because see, I don't even know where to start, Ephraim, because there are so many things that you have covered in your question. And I remember that we did talk about education, I think on the first episode of this program, the value of education. And one of the things that we highlighted was most immigrants are highly educated and most of them have got so many degrees. But I think when one steps into entrepreneurship, all they're simply doing is they're using their experience or their knowledge. It's just putting it into action. So I just don't see why one should not be an entrepreneur, because what they're simply doing is they're simply using the knowledge that they acquired. Maybe we can ask that question again. Why did you gather that knowledge in the first place? What was your intention? Because if your intention was to make this world a better place, or whatever reason that you studied that, then I think the world would be a better place if you can apply that knowledge that you have used. This is what Maslow says, it's self-actualization on his pyramid of needs. You are actually utilizing the resources that you've got internally and you're making them, you're actually using that to benefit society. So I think when we are referring to education, we are simply using that knowledge and by creating something that the society needs. But again, answering that question as well on the why entrepreneurship, I also believe that each and every one of us has got a purpose in this world, whatever it is. We are all in different fields, but I think the ultimate goal is to make this world a better place. And there's no better vehicle for making this world a better place than entrepreneurship. Look at innovation that is taking place around us. Now, instead of going to the shopping malls, you can just buy online in the comfort of your home. You could be sick and the food is delivered to your house. How good is that? It is someone who came up with an idea to make this world a better place. You and I, Ephraim, we're on this program. We are not in the same building. I don't even know where you are at the moment.
I know.
And you probably don't even know where I am.
Absolutely.
But it is someone who used their knowledge to make this world a better place. And look what has happened to the environment. If we, under normal circumstances, you and I should have organized a venue, we would have driven to that particular venue. Absolutely. And what is happening to the environment. But we've just saved the environment by doing what we are doing. We've saved a lot of money. We've just made everything as easy as possible, simply because of someone who decided to use their knowledge to make this world a better place. So we can come up with different reasons why doing what you are good at or using that knowledge to make this world a better place, there's no better time to do it than now. But again, another reason is, it's just like what I said, is self-actualization. At times we notice that not everyone, some people are happy doing what they're doing, but some people feel there's more that they can do. So entrepreneurship offers that by doing what they're good at, or by using their knowledge to create or to innovate. It helps them achieve that, have that fulfillment. So I also think that that self-actualization we were talking about comes by one taking that huge stride into doing what they love. Think about job creation. There are so many people that are actually waiting to be employed, but that one idea that is acted upon.
Wow.
There's so many people whose families can be improved when one gets to do, or one gets to act upon that idea. So I can think about so many reasons why entrepreneurship is really good for everyone, for the community. So if it's not just for one individual, then you're probably doing it for the community. Now, when we go to the economy, you create jobs, our economy gets to be, government creates more, gets more revenue from the people that you've employed, from the services that you've created, and the world is made to be a better place. So I think entrepreneurship is a key driver to global success.
Wow, Tendai, you're already hitting as if we are almost at the end. Meanwhile, we've not started. You're hitting some key points already. I know that people will keep coming and going out. Currently, I know there's one or two persons online as well. Please, anytime you are on, just give us a shout. But we know that a lot of people will see this later and really get the benefit. It doesn't matter whether you see it now or later. The things we're sharing here Tendai, I think they are overdue. I know a lot of people are doing it, but it is time for immigrants to. This is my passion. It's time for us to rise up. To rise up. Let's leave the overdependence. Let's leave waiting for handouts. I know one time or the other we need help, and it's good to be in a country where you can get support as a bridge, as a safety net, but ultimately it's not going to do your self-actualization for you. And I'm so happy you mentioned that word, Tendai, because I think that is one of the core. And unfortunately, whether you are a non-immigrant or immigrant, if you go without really achieving your self-actualization, no one gets better for it, including yourself. So it's a big part to explore further, Tendai, but I think you hit some key points there. I mean, the issue of why is always big. Anything one does, why? Tendai, because this is again, this is another fundamental area. We've never gone past one, so it's clear that we may need another episode for this, But being where course, you are the wise one. I've been when we talk about other immigrants that have come from nowhere to become world changers. Because the tendency is for someone that listens to this later on to say, "Oh, it's for others. It's for the I don't know how to pronounce the name now. The mosque, the guy that is taking people to space, who I realized recently is from South Africa. Actually, it's an immigrant.
Yes, he's an immigrant.
So,
yes.
But I know you have a repertoire, Tendai, of a few other case studies. I don't mind if we knock it off from here. I want us to leave on a high. Let's see if we can bring one or two case studies just to inspire, challenge other corpreneurs out there who may listen to us later on and say, "Hey, I'm going to try and do something myself as well." Please stand down and help us here.
Right. Thank you, Ephraim. So one example that I can think of, which is very applicable to what we are talking about here, is an example of World Remit. So I know back home, when people want to send money, like for example, I originally come from Zimbabwe and I use World Remit when I'm sending money. Now, World Remit was started by immigrants. They were facing challenges because they wanted to send money back home. And they noticed that, the systems were not as efficient as they would have wanted. It was problematic to send money, and that was an opportunity. Unlike what a lot of people think, they think you start a business to make money. And there are some people who start businesses with the sole purpose of making money. There's no formula, no right or wrong answer. You still can make that money because you have started simply to make money. But there are some businesses, most of them, that go on to succeed very well simply because people have identified a genuine need. Now, these are people in a foreign country trying to send money home, but they can't send it. So they saw a need, and that was an opportunity. And I think that's one good definition of entrepreneurship, because it's identifying challenges and you're coming up with solutions that have not been existent. So that's what entrepreneurship really is. It's a bit different from someone who's starting a business that is already in existence. The model is already known, so there's no innovation that is taking place. Entrepreneurship goes a step further. You're actually identifying something that is quite new, that has not been existing, and you are making a twist to it. That's entrepreneurship. So World Rabbit is one example that I will mention. Another one, obviously, that I love the most is Airbnb. Now, we do know it, we do use it, and it's also one business that was started again by immigrants. So these are boys that had just finished college. They were unemployed, looking for a job. I think the program that they had started was design. Now, there was a conference that was taking place, and being unemployed, rent was due. I think they'd been overdue for quite some time. And they decided to think of an idea of how they can raise money to pay rent. Now, when this conference was starting, what they decided to do was, what if we start a business? We give out our room. People are coming to the conference. Accommodation is going to be a problem. We'll just buy those air beds. I don't know if you know those beds that are made of air. So that's why it was called Airbnb. I'm sure you're aware of that. So we'll just make air beds. Now we'll get the beds, we'll put air into those beds. We provide breakfast in the morning. So that was an idea. These people are unemployed. What they are mainly looking for is money for rent, right? And obviously they couldn't get employment, maybe because they were immigrants, I'm not too sure. But the challenge was there. There was a need. Rent had to be paid. And they had two people who signed up. They thought they were going to get people who are very stingy and would not want to spend money on hotels, but they were actually surprised that they got professionals, a lady and a gentleman who were actually people of high income brackets. And so Airbnb was born. So it's again about identifying a need and then just exploiting it without thinking that one is an immigrant and therefore they do not qualify to own a business. So it comes back to one of those things that we talked about again, I think in the first episode, the issue of mindset, being able to do anything regardless of what you think you are.
And I think, Tendai, I think it's obvious now that we're going to have to do this in series. And I think might, again, depending on how busy you are when incubating chickens or business. But the issue of mindset will keep coming up because I think that's where the battle is won and lost, obviously. The mindset of I am not enough, the mindset of who will buy my thing, the mindset of who do I know, the mindset of I can go on to that. I mean, you can also count a few, But interestingly, the two cases you just brought up now, they are quite relatable, especially the first one. Somebody may think, okay, Airbnb is big out there, but I mean, let's bring it home. We have cases now of a few food business that are thriving. I know two that are really doing well. It's the same principle. They saw a need and they got in. They didn't start thinking twice. They just got in. Because they found out that when immigrants, especially when you've newly come over, you still cannot adjust quickly to the food.
Absolutely. That's true.
And some of us never adjust fully anyway. So,
that's true.
So these people, they said, wow, there's a need here. There's a need. And we now have a few food business that are thriving. I know two that have been going on for years. And I know that, of course, sometimes we don't talk about profit easily. I can imagine they can divulge their profit. I'm sure there will be something there. So what you're relating to Tendai it's not rocket science. But it comes back to that mindset. And I want us to just round it up with that term. So what do you want to say there? Because I brought up that question or that conversation about cases. Because sometimes if you know that this is not something that is made in heaven, these are all human beings. In your mosque, South Africa, he's a human being. He started somewhere. And I think this is where, I mean, like what I do as well, Tendai, I know immigrants, sometimes we don't pay much, but it's also an area of need.
Yes.
Where people come in, you need gaps to be bridged. So there's a need there. So it could apply to many things, export and import. Australia, could an immigrant be thinking, what could people need here that I can bring in? I know that may be massive capital, but we can start from somewhere. So Tendai, just as I want us to round it up on this day. We've only got to number one. Meanwhile, we have about 7 questions asked. But let's not rush it, because really there's no need rushing it, because we just want to answer questions. And if people were online today and they want an area for us to focus on, we would have taken that opportunity. But we didn't have many people online. So we took the advantage, opportunity, we took the risk.
Yes.
And we are making profit now.
Absolutely.
So Tendai, just tidy it up with that whole conversation around case studies you mentioned too. I know you have a few more, and you talk about one story of two brothers or something. You know, you've talked about Bata, how people were saying in Africa, people don't wear shoes. Another mindset said, that is why I need to manufacture shoes. So I know there's a few more case studies you could have brought out because of time, but tie it together with the whole thing of mindset there, you know, how do we help people here?
Oh, thank you. So, Ephraim, there's a saying that I like. It goes to say a lot of people, there are some people actually who, when they look at roses, they complain and say that I just don't know why roses have got thorns. So they are looking at roses and they're complaining, roses have got thorns. That's such a bad thing. But someone can look at the same thing and say, I'm amazed that thorn bushes produce roses. Now, these are two people who are looking at the same thing. Someone is looking at roses as a bad thing because roses have got thorns, but someone is looking at the same thing and saying, oh my God, I'm looking at these thorns and they produce roses. How cool or how amazing is that? If we are to summarize this, I will come up with one word to summarize this, or these two people. It's mindset, how people look at things. So the way we look at things will determine what we can or what we can't do. And this is where mindset starts in. As an immigrant, when you're looking at opportunities, you're saying, I don't think I can do this. I don't have enough education. I just got here. Oh, this is a new country. This is the same person who's looking at the roses and complaining. But then there are some people, like the examples that we gave, Ward Remit, Butter, and all that. They are looking at the same thing, but then they're seeing opportunities. Wow, I'm so glad. Thorns have got roses, or thorns produce roses. So I think mindset is quite critical. Now, when you get into business, like what we're saying, it's a risk-taking adventure. You're making a lot of risks. And even if you've got a very good plan, things are bound to go the other way, like down south. But you must have the mental stamina that when things go haywire, you know that things will get back to normal. It's just a mindset issue. So I would say a lot of people would need to feed their minds with positive things, positive people, positive information, because mindset can be nurtured. Just like we go to school to learn A, B, C, D, the alphabet, we still can learn, or we still can teach our minds to look at things positively. So that when we look at roses or when we look at thorns, we can be glad that thorns produce roses. I know it's a very simple example, but when you look at it, it's an issue of how you perceive things. We need to change the way we perceive things. Now, businesses or entrepreneurship is always found in confusion, in problems, and in challenges. It's only when you are in problems or when you're in challenges that your entrepreneurship is manufactured. So I think some of us, we've got entrepreneurial capabilities, but they are sitting at bay and they need to be activated. And the only condition for the activation of our entrepreneurship skills or capabilities is when we find ourselves immersing in troubles, problems, worries. That's only when we can be we can activate our entrepreneurship.
Wow, Tendai, and I think, I wish Saf was here earlier on. I know she would have loved to get involved. Saf is not a stranger to corpreneurs. Saf is she's the owner of the beautifiers. She's been on one of the guests on this program. She's done what we're talking about here. She saw the need, the gap for fashion, and I think she's in WA right now. She's really occupied that space. And also she's carrying a few people along, which we'll also look at in this program one of these days, Tendai, which is collaboration. It's one of the questions that was sent to us. Can we succeed alone? Is it meant to be done alone? Because entrepreneurship could be lonely, but I don't want to open another subject area. But just to acknowledge Saf, thank you so much, the beautifiers. Thank you, Saf. We appreciate your comments. Thank you for joining us. We wish you were here earlier because we're just about rounding up. But it's never too late to have a comment from someone like Saf. Thank you so much, Mrs. Bakari, the beautifiers. But Tendai, just really, I want to try today, first time, maybe because of that, but I want to try and keep this at 45 minutes so that people can, of course, this is good value to watch, but as much as possible, let people be able to be motivated to watch it all the way. Though I'll try and break it down when releasing it for a wider audience. But I just want to tell people that watch this, it's okay even when you see this later, please leave us a comment, leave questions. Of course, I'll have to check Tendai's diary, but we really have, at least let it not look like I am just joking because I'm behind the camera, but we've actually just done this today, Tendai. But we have this coming, because this has always caused confusion among people. How do we differentiate between employment, entrepreneurship, and business? Tendai touched it a bit today that sometimes even when you are in 9 to 5, you still have the potential to try some entrepreneurship. These days, it's hard to say with 9 to 5 you can achieve that self-actualization we mentioned, Tendai, but some people could, like you rightly said from the beginning, which was a big disclaimer. There's no right and wrong answer. We just share principles. And so there's a few more to come. What type of business should people do? We flag Airbnb today, we flag. A lot of people now are doing Uber. People have used Uber to become millionaires. It's your mindset. People are doing delivery of food and they are putting an edge. Tendai flag a comment which I think will keep coming up, and that is innovation. Innovation. No matter what is being done now, you can bring an edge and make it to just spread like wildfire and make money and make something for humanity. So I think that's one question that also troubles people. What should I be doing? How do I get into it? The mechanics, we are so blessed to have Tendai. Tendai is connected with Business Station, SBDC. So there are some things that he will be in a position to answer for us. And where we need other help, we'll definitely get more people across to support us, Tendai. And the big question, we touched it today, but I think it's going to be a question that may not go away, Tendai. And this is big on mindset. As an immigrant, let's bring it home. I know somebody will say, let's be realistic. Let me quote somebody here. Because I'm trying to move away from that mindset and that I believe it's doable. But the popular side, you may have more people that will say, can I succeed as an immigrant? What's the hope? And then all the mechanics of the needs to, again, mindset, research, finance, network. That question will always come, who will buy my thing? Especially when you want to move away from food. Because many times immigrants are only tied to food. It's okay, and it's giving the revenue for some people. That's absolutely okay. But diversity is more than food, Tendai. Sometimes when people want to give example of diversity and the value, they use food. It's more than food. There are many other things that can be done. And then marketing, Tendai may share with us about ASBAS, or we may even get ASBAS in. That's a big gap for immigrants. And all said and done, Tendai, we've not even touched that. However, the best idea you have, if you don't manage business properly, it will go down.
Yes.
And I'm sure in your incubation, you come across this regularly and try to correct it, but it's something to talk about, and then coming back again to mind. And of course, where do I get support? Do I need support? Can I do it alone? So Tendai, hopefully we won't go as much as this, but you can see that out of 7 or thereabout, and there's more, we just picked 7. We only have been able to do some justice, and that is not even too deep, but we've only been able to handle entrepreneurship. Tendai, last word before but I will definitely be checking on your diary. We need to have form a strategy on how we can take more points next time.
Yes. Yes, no, I agree. No, we should do I think more of this. I agree.
Thank you so much, Tendai. And for those that will see this later, I know I would have loved to have crowd here, but whether crowd or not, please, even when you see later, join me to thank Tendai Muchemwa. I know it takes a lot of sacrifice and time to do this, but I'm also taking advantage of the fact that it's his passion. He's so passionate about wanting people to succeed. I've been a beneficiary of that. I've been in his incubator, and I can tell you he has incubated me very well. I have now grown fat as a chicken. But seriously, Tendai, I just want to say thank you. Thanks for your time, and please, we would like to have you next time do more justice to this. Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much, Ephraim. And just to say in closing, I think as immigrants, we already have the ingredients for taking risks, and that is the only prerequisite for managing a successful business or for venturing into any successful business. There are no better people who are qualified to start businesses or to succeed in businesses for as long as you have the appetite to undertake risks. And you don't have to know everything. You just have to have the appetite to succeed. And the how will always unveil itself as you go. And there's so much support here in Australia. The Australian government provides so much support. And obviously there is Business Station that we will explore and talk more about. And if anyone has got any issues, I'm more than happy to assist in pointing to the right direction. But as immigrants, we do have the ingredients that are required. When someone waits for a visa to come out, they've got no influence whatsoever in the decision making of the authorities. It means someone has already taken that risk of making application, providing the information, even if they don't know if they're going to be granted a visa. People already did that and they migrated. Congratulations, you started your first business. Unfortunately, it didn't have a profit, or maybe the profit was there by you being here, but you still can use that same energy and that same zeal, same ingredient of risk-taking to start whatever that you wish to start and be successful. So I think those are my parting words, Ephraim. And thank you everyone for coming today.
That's a big pattern, Tendai. You almost sound as if you're not going to come back again, but definitely if you can have that pattern every time we meet, someone will definitely be inspired. And that's what we are doing here: inspiration, challenge, support.
Yeah,
we need to inspire people, and I'm so glad that you know it, you get it, and that's where you started from. That the immigrant has the DNA of entrepreneurship, and I'm glad that you were able to join me today, Tendai. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you whenever you see this next time. Please give us a shout, subscribe, and just so that you get the updates. Please, it's obvious now we're going to have this in a couple of series just to try and get through with it. I think it's urgent, I think it's needed, I think it's valuable. By the time you see this today, you know what I mean. But once again, thank you so much, Tendai, for your time.
Thank you, Ephraim. It was my pleasure.
Bye-bye.